Hello and welcome to the Grow Room. It is week 40. Can you believe it? Week 40. And we are in autumn and the nights are getting cold. But tonight we've got a beautiful set for you from Sam Welbourne. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Grow Room. It is week 40. And tonight we have the beautiful sounds of Sam Welbourne. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. I'd like to start with a tune that's dedicated to the giraffe. That was the second piece. The second piece of my homage to the Solar Impulse team, who made a solar-powered plane, and I think we've already forgotten how amazing that was. They managed to make a plane that flew all the way around the world on solar power. I mean, it took them the best part of 2 years to do it in stages. But what an incredible thing that is, to have a plane that's driven by the sun. So we are in such an amazing century, and that's what this set is really about. It's about looking forward, not to the extinction of the giraffe. Let's hope that we don't destroy the giraffe. Let's hope not. But that we can actually do things differently from the last century, which was frankly dreadful. Can I say that now, that we're out of the 20th century? It was dreadful, wasn't it? What can you say? What can you say? It was dreadful. So I'm going to play something. For the insects now. I'm so used to playing music. If you know my work as a classical guitarist, I'm so used to playing things that are really dedications to the inventiveness of our ancestors, and I play music from 5 different centuries, and so this one is actually to insects because we're wiping them out really rapidly. I'm going to try and make an improvisation here, which is something that really stretches the boundary for a classical guitarist. So this is called Startled Insects, in homage to the Bristol band, who some of you might remember from the 1980s, called Startled Insects. turn this down to D. The greatest guitarist of the 20th century before Jimi Hendrix was a chap called Andre Segovia, and his name is rapidly being forgotten. But he inspired me and many other classical guitarists. I'm sure James Rippingdale down there will agree with me on that one. And he said some amazing things in his lifetime about the soul of music and the way that we play music. And he said his life had been like an ascending line, slowly ascending line. And that everything came, but it was only through the persistence, his will, the persistence of his will was his miracle. And I think that's the right thing to say. And he also said that he'd been very lucky, and that it was down to the mysterious stars of my firmament, is what he said. And I think that's a wonderful thing to say. So this is a tune I wrote actually at the end of the last century, which I've redeveloped, called Mysterious Stars, for Andre Segovia. Rest his soul. Right, I'm going to get cosmic on you now. This is Glastonbury, so I figure I'm allowed to get cosmic on you.
It's required.
It's what?
It's required.
It's required even. That's good, thank you. I'm going to play a set of pieces which I wrote around 2012, which are kind of are waking up, I suppose, on some level. They've got their roots further back than that, but the first one is about the Schumann resonance. I don't know if any of you have any of you heard of the Schumann resonance? There's a couple of people there, yeah. Well, for those who don't know, when lightning strikes the Earth, it sends a shock wave in the electromagnetic around the Earth and back. And because lightning's striking all the time, it sets up a standing wave. So the whole Earth is like a bell, like a radio wave bell that resonates all the time. And it has harmonics, like all good notes have harmonics. And the Schumann resonance was discovered in the 1950s and rather kind of put to one side, but the haunting thing about it is the energy level and the frequencies at which it resonates correspond directly with the human brain. So I think just like FM radio, the Schumann resonance is our route to collective consciousness. And so this is my homage to the Schumann resonance. Very kind. Felix Bergermeyer took a sponsorship from Red Bull and a balloon, and he floated up to the edge of space, and he jumped out, and that was the gig. He tried 3 times, and the 3rd time he succeeded. When I was a kid, we took the Apollo space rocket, which is the biggest, fastest, most powerful thing, and bammed it off into space. But in 2012, we floated up and jumped out. It was quite a different view of how the world works. And I think that's the difference between the 20th and the 21st century, is a different attitude to how we see the Earth. The Earth is something that we want to come back to now, rather than something we want to get away from. If you can kind of see the picture, that's what this next tune is about. It's called Man Falling. I get it? The sense of just, he fell for 15 minutes. 15 minutes he fell. He was tumbling so much in his spacesuit, he couldn't tell which way up he was, he couldn't do anything about it, he couldn't reach out. He was just tumbling helplessly towards the Earth. How about that? Amazing man. Anyway, the next tune is called Biontology, which is wonderfully, it just breaks science completely. The simple discovery that every cell gives off light. Photon detectors have shown that every cell gives off 10,000 photons per second. That's actual science. So there was a guy in the Netherlands who, realizing this, he analyzed the human body and found that if you found disruption in the flow of photons across the body's surface, you could tell that somebody was sick. So if you used phase inversion, you could treat somebody with light. And lo and behold, he found it worked. And he called it biontology. So I never mind that. I just really interested that the thought of all those photons jiggling about, making your existence happen, that weaves together the fabric of yourself. I find that very moving. And again, it's a 21st century thing. It's so not 20th century. So here's my tune, Biontology. Okay, so never mind all that complicated stuff. Oh my God. I think too much, probably. So here's a tune that's not about thinking too much. This is called Tagine. It's a North African sort of dish. There it is. So how do you make tagine? Actually, you might want to try something here. We're so used in Europe to going in 4/4 or 2/4, like square time all the time, or maybe 6/8 and things like that. But in North Africa, they have a tradition of 10/8, which is a really interesting rhythm, and I hope you can feel this. It's slightly difficult to feel, but if you could feel it, then it's breaking down that sort of framework that we live in. So here we go. Tagine. Do you like tagine? I like tagine. And my penultimate piece is called The Legacy of the Bee. I'm just going to crank the tuning a little bit here. When I was a kid, I remember there being loads and loads of insects. Loads. You went for a drive and there was loads of insects stuck to everything. And of course there aren't very many insects now. Perhaps because we drove into them all, but don't know. The Legacy of the Bee. This is the next tune. We've noticed that bees have been dying out because of neonicotinoids. I think also possibly because of other things, like noise, stuff like that. If we kill off the pollinators, we die. It's really simple. So here's my tune dedicated to the legacy of the bee. I left Bristol a long time ago, but I was there for 20 years, and I wrote a song called Glastonbury Song. But it's turned into a song called Exodus. If we kill off all the bees, we get to leave too. So here's Exodus. Thanks very much. That's my set of 10 of my own pieces of recent years. Perhaps after a break, I'll play some classical pieces for you, some romantic Spanish stuff, something that's reassuring.
That was totally transportational. Thank you. It's beautiful. Really lovely to hear your own original pieces. Sam Welbourne is a fantastic classical guitarist, and we are lucky enough to have him play on our high street as well. So quite often, if you're walking through the sunny high street, you'll hear the beautiful sounds of Sam Welbourne and his classical guitar playing. Welcome. How do you feel after all that? Being filmed. Yeah, it's something else to think about.
It puts you on the spot, rather.
Yeah.
Surrounded by cameras.
Put your mic up to your lips because we need to
yes.
record this.
Yes, I have to do that, don't I?
This is being recorded live. Welcome, everyone, and yeah, really glad to be here, listening to you today, and in this environment. And yeah, so tell me about yourself. When did you? So you said you come from Bristol. You lived in Bristol before you lived here.
I lived there for 20 years.
20 years.
After art school.
Right. Where did you go to art school?
Bower Ashton.
Where's that?
Ashton Park.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
that
I know
in?
Bristol very well.
No, I don't know Bristol
Lovely
very
Bristol.
well.
It was lovely. There were bluebells in the woods, so I went there, not London.
Oh, nice. So what kind of, what do you mean art school? You as in
I studied fine art.
fine art? Okay, so you're an artist as well.
Well, they put me through academic education.
Okay. Who's they? Your parents?
You know them.
Those people. The Dragon's Den.
So I didn't want to do any more academic, so I went to study fine art in Bristol.
Okay.
And I was part of the Bristol music scene for quite a while. And so I found my life there, and a whole nother life. In fact, you know what? This idea that we have one life, that we're born and we have a life, and then we die, that's horseshit.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
You have
Many
lots,
chapters.
You have lots of lives.
Many
don't you?
chapters. Yeah.
I think you should just say their lives.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely a different
know.
person along, but back when I was a kid, obviously.
there you go.
Completely
There you go.
different.
Yeah.
And yeah, every 10 years, I think you do go through a kind of cycle of, realizing more about yourself and discovering new things and, all of that
I think
stuff.
it's decadal, or
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
But I know-
7?
Yeah, some people say some people say 18. There's a variety of versions of it, isn't there? But
Well, everyone's different. Yeah.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
cycles. As Mark
Yeah.
Tilson says, it's all cycles.
Yeah.
And I think that's right, really.
Yeah. So what drew you to Glastonbury? So how long have you lived here for as well? So that's 2 questions
Is
at
it
once.
11 years, I think?
11 years.
Well, a friend of mine and we set up a studio with a now deceased friend up in Clifton in Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
And when things went wrong for me in Bristol, I came down and stayed in West Penard with my friend the doctor, who we were partners in the studio.
Mm.
The studio is still running, by the way. It's called Alma Vale Studio up in Clifton, Bristol. And that's how we could afford to have a grand piano, by working
Fantastic.
together, by making a cooperative team. So it wasn't about making money. It was about providing space
Acquiring.
for artists. A bit like this, really, funnily enough. It's allowing people to work together. It's not about this notion that the Western world has of making...
Profits.
Yeah. The evil prophets, But I came down and stayed with him, and you know what? I was broken. I had a nervous breakdown at Pilton at the festival.
Oh, God, not a good place.
Not a good place, no. And after I'd recovered for a while with my friend, I saw Glastonbury as being an obvious place to go to. So I came here, and it seemed to open up for me. It seemed like in no time I had a flat and a job and a business, and suddenly it was all ticking again. It was amazing, and of course I had lots of agony from the loss of one life and move to another. But it seemed like Glastonbury was a great place to heal, and you know what? It has healed me, and it is a great place to heal. And I meet
I agree.
lots
I
of people who
definitely
come here on that sort of pilgrim journey, and they heal themselves here. And it's something to do with the landscape, I think. That's what actually draws us around. We think that we're in control of I'm so in control of my life, But actually, we're kind of a flea on the surface of the earth, and pushed about by the tides of the
Time.
landscape.
And landscape, yeah.
So that's why this historically has been that place for so long. So that's what brought me here, I think, really. So something beyond oneself. When you're weak and needy and a bit broken, I think you kind of float along like a twig on the stream, don't you? You're not sort of all determined and vigorous and all that.
So you came to nestle in the countryside.
Yeah, and have work through
Have
my
a bit of
nightmare.
breathing space.
Do you know, I walked up the tour so often, getting
Yeah.
over my grief, that I actually ran up it in the end. By the time I was running up the tour, I think I got over it largely. Something about
Agony.
oxygenation, agony,
Yeah.
yeah.
And shock.
The shock.
Excellent. So what were you doing in Glastonbury? You said you had a business. Were you
Yeah, well,
was that musical? Was that musically based?
This kind of quite revolutionary thing called Web2, which is now absolutely daily life, isn't it? What's that? Plug it in, like that. Is it broken? So we set up a business around the idea of Web 2.0, creating local networks, and then of course the Californians came along with their trillions of dollars investment, which they borrowed off nobody. And then they just rolled over us and flattened the business completely. At the time, the government was saying, oh, we want to have a knowledge economy and we want innovators and all that. So I thought I was doing the right thing, But I wasn't. And we got crushed by the 2008 collapse. It really affected all the investors. It infected everybody. Really, we're still getting over that today. The reason why there's so little money around for the arts is because of the 2008 crash, for sure. And I think it's going to be a good while yet before we get back to a place which we were at, where local small traders were able to invest in their little enterprises, and then other producers and makers could actually address those needs. We're a long way off getting back, I think.
Yeah, it's quite troubling, isn't it? The whole
I
dropping
found
of funding in arts.
as a managing director, of being paid $5,000 a year was quite insulting. But I was the managing director, so I had only myself to blame.
Yeah.
So I found that busking was actually better paid.
Right.
Good old British economy, eh?
Yeah. Tourists. We rely heavily on tourists. Definitely in Glastonbury.
Dead without them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not quite. We've got it. We've got this. We can. So your original set that you just displayed to us just then, it's very influenced by natural science, isn't it? So you're very interested in natural science, it seems. Would you say that's true?
Thank you. I hadn't actually put that word to it, but fair enough.
Because I was trying to think, this is all kind of, it fits into that box.
Well, I'd love to know what the future's about. I'd
Yeah.
love to know what the reality of reality is. What does that mean?
I'll have to think about that.
What does actually any of it mean? I mean, if you can't wander that in Glastonbury, then where can I'm just going to drink now.
So anyway, moving on.
Sorry.
Are there any questions that anyone else has got in the audience that they are burning to ask for a start? Anyone at all?
Come on, you were chatty a minute ago.
We've all clammed up.
When did you meet the guitar?
I was given one by my auntie when I was 5, and I remember rocking out with it, not knowing what the hell I was doing.
That's amazing.
Years later, I had a baby girl, and I gave her a guitar when she was 5, and I've got a little video of her rocking out on it, just the same. And now I've got a baby boy. We just gave him a guitar at age 1.
Really?
Yeah, age 1.
A
It's
full-size
do it
guitar?
earlier. No, a little one.
Little one. I was going to say.
So yeah, early. But I think the
Yeah.
most important thing was to sing in the choir. Was
Yeah.
to learn how to listen, and to then by singing together, then to understand musical notation from that, and that opened the door for me. And actually, an awful lot of other people who've worked in production, I think, is those choirs were important. And of course, the church has kind of died and gone away, and those choirs have gone away. So we're in danger of losing a whole musical bedrock, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't miss the romantic nonsense the church represented. I don't miss it at all. And the things that have come out of the
actual
woodwork
venue
since
of the play, the
but
beauty of the
but
church.
the activity of coming together to sing and
Yeah.
be musical, I think, is a very important one societally. I think that's actually one of the founding principles of society. In fact,
Yeah, there definitely aren't enough choirs and things, musical things going on.
out there.
They are out there. They are, and we want to hear you. Come to the Grow Room and perform for us if you're a choir. That would be amazing, actually. We would love to see a choir here. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we should get back to hearing some of your more classical pieces.
Okay, yeah.
Unless anyone else has got anything that they want.
Well, I'm
What do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say one thing, which is my friend James is in the audience here, and he's a very fine classical guitarist. It's slightly embarrassing to play in front of him, but we've compared notes about a composer called Isaac Albeniz, and a lovely tune of his, much admired by the Impressionist musicians, called Cordoba. Now, we both compare notes, and it's deadly difficult. It's actually written for piano, but it sounds lovely on the guitar.
You want to play this tonight?
Well, I've kind of given myself the challenge. There's a sort of fluster about playing a live gig. You feel flustered. So the thing about the classical guitar is to learn how to be not flustered.
So you go into your zone. Where do you go?
Right here.
Yeah, you're right here, but you
have to be right here. You
Yeah.
have to be not. You have to be right here, but not in the way.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know, it makes you think.
So I'm going to try and play Cordoba by
Cordoba.
Isaac Albeniz.
And what else are you going to be playing?
I'm going to play another couple of pieces by Albeniz after
Yeah.
that. A tango, which is terribly romantic. And then what's the other one? Oh yes, Granada. And then I'm going to get a bit more vigorous and play a bit of Manuel de Falla, the Miller's Dance from the Three Corners Hat. And if there's time, I'm going to play a traditional lullaby, which is called El Noy de la Mer.
Wow. That sounds
That's what I'm going to try and do anyway.
amazing.
I might fall off hopelessly. If I fall off, I'll just have to laugh, I'm afraid.
I'm really looking forward to this.
I've got to retune a bit.
Fantastic. Give a round of applause to Sam Welbourne. Thank you.
Right, let's see if I can get this in tune. I guess I should have done that before I stopped, but it's going to slip, isn't it? that piece was from the 1890s or thereabouts, I believe. And I think it's a similar date on this tango. And it's interesting because it's a Spanish tango, not a South American tango. It's too easy to play it too fast. I can try and play it gracefully. Can I go back to 1980s and say, you've been tangoed? Sorry. All right, so here's another piece by Albanese called Granada. I should just say that this guitar, if you're wondering, it's made by a wonderful maker from Coventry called Rick Middleton, if you're looking for a lovely instrument, Rick Middleton of Coventry. So here's Granada by Isaac Albinus. going to just spoil all that 19th century loveliness and go 20th century on, you know. This is a composer called Manuel de Falla, who's just on fire, basically. And it's called The Miller's Dance, from the Three Corners Hat. Okay, here's the last piece I plan to play, which is called El Noy de la Mer, and it's a kind of well, it's a lovely tranquil piece to put the baby to bed to.
Thank you very much, Sam, for a simply sublime set. Thank you. And we can all listen to that again back at home. And we're here every Thursday, so please come down and join us if you fancy it. Or if not, just watch it from home. Simple, isn't it? So next week we have Dirty Blueprint. So join us for another episode of the Glastonbury Grow Room at the King Arthur. Bye for now.